Hello there. Let's talk about something truly special, something that often arrives later in life, bringing with it a wave of emotions unlike almost anything else. Becoming a grandparent. Do you remember that first moment? Perhaps holding that tiny bundle, marveling at those impossibly small fingers and toes, feeling a connection that stretches both backward to your own children and forward into a future you suddenly feel even more invested in. It's a profound experience, isn't it? A unique kind of love blossoms. A fierce protectiveness mingled with a sheer delight that can catch you quite by surprise. It often feels like getting a second chance at the joys of parenting, but perhaps with a little more wisdom, a little more patience, and hopefully, a little more time to simply savor the moments without the immediate, day-to-day pressures you might remember from raising your own children. But amidst all that joy, amidst the cooing and the cuddles and the rediscovery of forgotten lullabies, sometimes other feelings start to surface. Questions might begin to bubble up, quietly at first, then perhaps a little more insistently. Questions like, what exactly is my role here? Or, what do my children actually expect from me as a grandparent? Maybe you find yourself wondering, how much help is too much? How much is not enough? Or perhaps you've pondered, how do I share my own experiences and values without overstepping or seeming critical? You wouldn't be alone if these thoughts have crossed your mind. This beautiful new chapter of life, grandparenthood, while deeply rewarding, can also bring with it a surprising layer of complexity, particularly when it comes to navigating the expectations, both spoken and unspoken, within the family. Think about it. The world has changed quite a bit since we were raising our own children, hasn't it? Parenting styles evolve. Ideas about discipline, nutrition, sleep schedules, technology use, they often look quite different now compared to what was common practice a generation or two ago. What felt like common sense or standard procedure back then might be viewed differently by your adult children and their partners today. They have access to a constant stream of information, opinions, and advice from books, websites, parenting groups, and friends, all shaping their own approach. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, of course. Knowledge grows and approaches adapt. But it can sometimes create a sense of disconnect, can't it? You might offer a piece of advice, stemming from your own lived experience and genuine love, only to have it gently, or perhaps not so gently, dismissed. Or perhaps you see things being done in a way that makes you raise an eyebrow, and you wrestle with whether to say something or hold your tongue, wanting to be supportive but also feeling a lifetime of experience bubbling up inside you. Furthermore, the very definition of a grandparent seems more varied now than perhaps it was for our own grandparents. Some grandparents are deeply involved in the daily care of their grandchildren, providing essential childcare that allows parents to work. Others live far away, cherishing visits and video calls, building connection across the miles. Some are the fun-loving weekend grandparents, masters of treats and adventures. Others might be navigating more complex family dynamics, perhaps involving blended families or step-grandchildren. Each situation bringing its own unique set of joys and challenges. There's no single right way to be a grandparent anymore, which is liberating in one sense, but can also leave you feeling a bit adrift, wondering where you fit into the particular picture of your own family. And then there are the expectations. Oh, the expectations. They can come from all directions. Your adult children might have hopes, perhaps clearly stated, perhaps only hinted at, about how involved you'll be. Maybe they envision regular babysitting, financial contributions, or adherence to their specific parenting rules. Their partners, your sons or daughters-in-law, bring their own family histories and expectations into the mix, which might align perfectly with yours. or might be quite different indeed. Sometimes you might even feel expectations from society at large or from your own peers about what a good grandparent should do or be. And let's not forget our own expectations. We carry dreams and ideas about the kind of grandparent we want to be, shaped by our own experiences, our relationship with our own grandparents, and our deep love for this new generation. It's perfectly natural to feel a little overwhelmed by all of this sometimes. You might feel a pressure to be constantly available, even when your energy levels aren't what they used to be, or when you have your own interests, activities, or even work commitments to balance. Perhaps you've felt a pang of hurt if your offers of help were declined, or if you felt subtly excluded from decisions regarding the grandchildren. Maybe you've found yourself biting your tongue so often that your jaw aches, wanting desperately to share a helpful tip, but fearing it will be perceived as criticism. You might yearn for more time with the grandchildren, but feel hesitant to ask, not wanting to impose. Or conversely, you might feel you're being relied upon more heavily than you anticipated, leading to feelings of resentment or exhaustion, even though you adore your grandchildren. These feelings, confusion, uncertainty, pressure, sometimes even a touch of sadness or frustration, they are all valid. They are part of the human experience of navigating evolving relationships and roles, especially within the intricate tapestry of family. Acknowledging these feelings is the first step towards finding a comfortable and fulfilling path forward. So, how do we navigate this? How do we find that sweet spot, that unique role that feels right for us, honors our love for our family, respects the autonomy of our adult children as parents, and ultimately allows us to build strong, joyful, and lasting bonds with our grandchildren? It begins with a bit of self-reflection, doesn't it? Taking the time to really consider what you want your grandparenting journey to look like. What brings you the most joy? What are your strengths? What are your limitations, whether they be related to time, energy, health, or finances? What are your core values that you hope to pass on? Understanding your own desires and boundaries is the crucial foundation. And then comes the equally important part: communication. Finding ways to have open, honest, and respectful conversations with your adult children about these roles and expectations. This isn't always easy, of course. Family conversations, especially around potentially sensitive topics, require care, empathy, and a willingness to listen as much as to speak. But finding a way to bridge that gap, to understand their perspective, and to gently share your own, is often the key to resolving misunderstandings and preventing small points of friction from growing into larger issues. In our time together exploring this topic, that's exactly what we'll aim to do. We've started by acknowledging the landscape, the joys, the complexities, the changing times, and the very real feelings that come with being a grandparent today. Next, we will delve deeper into the process of self-discovery, helping you to articulate what your ideal grandparent role might look like, considering all the different facets of your life and personality. Following that, we'll explore practical strategies and gentle approaches for communicating effectively with your family, navigating those potentially tricky conversations about expectations, boundaries, and finding a harmonious balance that allows everyone to thrive, especially those precious grandchildren who are at the heart of it all. This is a journey of understanding yourself, understanding your children as parents, and finding a way to weave your unique contribution into the beautiful, ever-evolving story of your family. It is possible to find a role that feels authentic, fulfilling, and deeply loving, and we'll explore how to get there together. Now that we've acknowledged the beautiful, sometimes complicated landscape of modern grandparenthood, Let's delve into how you can navigate it with grace, confidence, and a deep sense of purpose. Finding your fulfilling role as a grandparent isn't about following a rigid set of rules, but rather about embarking on a journey of discovery, understanding yourself, understanding your family, and finding ways to connect that feel authentic and joyful for everyone involved. It's about consciously shaping your grandparenting experience rather than simply reacting to circumstances or perceived expectations. So, where do we begin this journey? The most crucial starting point, perhaps surprisingly, isn't with your children or grandchildren, but with yourself. Take some quiet time for genuine self-reflection. Ask yourself, what kind of grandparent do I truly want to be? Forget about what you think society expects, or what your neighbor Brenda does with her grandkids. What resonates deep within you? Think back to your own grandparents. What did you cherish most about them? Was it their stories, their comforting presence, their special skills, the way they made you feel unconditionally loved? Now think about your own experience raising your children. What were the moments of greatest joy? What aspects of nurturing came most naturally to you? What skills or passions do you possess that you might love to share? Perhaps you're a wonderful gardener, a patient teacher, a fantastic baker, a skilled woodworker, a lover of nature, a musician, or simply a person who gives the warmest hugs. Your unique personality, history, and passions are the foundation of your grandparenting style. Equally important in this self-reflection is honesty about your limitations. This isn't negativity, it's realism, and it's essential for sustainability. Consider your current energy levels. Are you realistically able to chase toddlers around the park for hours, or would a quieter activity like reading stories or doing puzzles be a better fit? Think about your health. Are there physical limitations that might affect the kind of activities you can engage in? Consider your time commitments. Do you still work? Have you got hobbies, social engagements, or perhaps caregiving responsibilities for your own spouse or parents? Your time and energy are valuable resources, and it's okay. Indeed, it's necessary to acknowledge their limits. And what about finances? Grandparenting can sometimes come with unspoken financial expectations, from buying gifts to contributing to larger expenses. Be honest with yourself about what you are comfortably able and willing to offer. Lastly, consider distance. If you live far from your grandchildren, your role will naturally look different from that of a grandparent who lives down the street, focusing perhaps more on quality visits, video calls, and thoughtful communication across the miles. Being brutally honest with yourself about your desires, your strengths, and your limitations is the bedrock upon which you can build an authentic and sustainable grandparenting role. Remember Eleanor? She initially felt pressure, perhaps self-inflicted, to be the cookie-baking grandma archetype. But when she honestly assessed her energy and true joys, she discovered that her real gift lay in sharing quiet moments, reading fascinating stories, and patiently working through puzzles with her grandson. By embracing her authentic style, she found deep fulfillment and built a wonderful connection, far more satisfying than forcing herself into a role that didn't truly fit. Once you have a clearer sense of your own desires and capabilities, the next vital step is to cultivate empathy and understanding for your adult children's perspective. Try to step into their shoes. Remember what it was like being a new parent? The exhaustion, the worry, the overwhelming flood of advice from all corners. The world they are parenting in is likely different from the one you experienced. They might be juggling demanding careers, financial pressures, and navigating a digital world that presents entirely new challenges. They are constantly bombarded with information and often conflicting opinions about the right way to raise children, from sleep training methods to dietary guidelines and screen time rules. Their primary focus, quite rightly, is on establishing their own family unit and making the decisions they believe are best for their child. Their choices about discipline, routines, or feeding might differ significantly from what you practiced, not because they think you did it wrong, but because times change, knowledge evolves, and they are finding their way. It's crucial to approach their parenting choices with respect, even if you don't fully agree with them. Try to understand the why behind their decisions. Instead of immediately offering unsolicited advice or criticism, which often feels like judgment, no matter how well-intentioned, perhaps ask gentle, curious questions. For example, if you're puzzled by their approach to naps, you might say, "I notice you're trying a new nap routine. I'm curious to learn more about it." This shows interest and respect rather than disapproval. Remember Sarah, whose daughter was very strict about sugar? Instead of complaining or trying to circumvent the rule, Sarah simply asked her daughter to share her reasoning. Hearing about her daughter's research and concerns helped Sarah understand the importance of this boundary, allowing her to support it wholeheartedly and find other, non-sugary ways to show her love and create special moments. Avoid comparing their methods to how you did things, unless they specifically ask. Phrases like, "Well, in my day, we just," can unintentionally undermine their confidence and create distance. Your role now is not to be the primary parent, but a supportive figure one step removed. Recognizing and respecting their autonomy as the parents is absolutely fundamental to building a harmonious relationship. They need to feel trusted and capable in their role, just as you did. Now, armed with self-awareness and empathy, we arrive at perhaps the most pivotal element: effective communication. This is where understanding meets action. So much friction in families arises not from ill intent, but from unspoken expectations and assumptions. You might assume they want you to babysit every week, while they might be hesitant to ask, not wanting to impose. Or perhaps they assume you're available for last-minute help, while you might have other plans you feel reluctant to mention. Open, honest, and gentle communication is the key to bridging these gaps. Timing and tone are everything. Choose a calm, relaxed moment for these conversations, not when everyone is stressed or rushed, and certainly not during a moment of disagreement. Privacy is also helpful. Perhaps a quiet chat over coffee, or a phone call specifically dedicated to this topic. Focus on using I statements rather than you statements. Instead of saying, "You never let me see the grandkids," try expressing your own feelings and desires. "I've been missing the grandkids lately, and I'd love to find a time we could arrange a visit soon." Instead of, "You should really try putting him down earlier," perhaps offer support. "I see you're working hard on the bedtime routine. Is there any way I could help?" Frame your offers of help as genuine questions, respecting their right to decline. For example, "I'm free on Thursday afternoon. Would it be helpful if I came over to watch Maya while you run errands, or would you prefer some quiet time?" This gives them agency. Listen actively. Truly try to hear and understand their perspective, their needs, and their concerns, without immediately formulating your response or defense. Be prepared to compromise. Maybe your ideal vision of weekly sleepovers isn't feasible for them right now, but perhaps a regular Sunday afternoon visit would work wonderfully for everyone. Discussing practicalities openly is essential. How often would they appreciate babysitting help? Are there specific rules about food, naps, screen time, discipline they need you to follow consistently? How do they prefer you handle minor disagreements with the child? What's the best way to schedule visits? Having these conversations proactively, even if they feel a little awkward initially, can prevent countless misunderstandings down the road. Remember Margaret, who simply asked, "What would be most helpful for you right now?" That open-ended, respectful question paved the way for clarity and mutual understanding, far better than making assumptions. Flowing naturally from clear communication is the necessity of setting healthy boundaries. This is not about being selfish or unloving. It's about self-preservation and ensuring the long-term health of your relationships. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you consistently overextend yourself, agreeing to more help than you can comfortably manage in terms of time, energy, or even finances, you risk burnout, exhaustion, and simmering resentment. These feelings are toxic to family harmony. It is perfectly okay, and in fact essential, to sometimes say no or to propose an alternative that works better for you. Maybe you can't commit to regular weekday childcare, but you'd be delighted to have the children for a weekend once a month. Perhaps dropping everything for a last-minute request isn't feasible today, but you can offer help later in the week. Maybe contributing financially to a large purchase isn't possible, but you can offer your time or a smaller specific gift. Communicating these boundaries requires kindness, but also firmness. You don't need to over-explain or make excessive apologies. A simple, "I'd love to help, but I'm not able to manage that this Tuesday," or "A full day of looking after the little ones is a bit much for my energy levels right now, but I could happily manage from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m." is usually sufficient. If you feel comfortable, briefly explaining the reason can help foster understanding, e.g., "That's the day of my doctor's appointment," or "I find I need a quieter afternoon to recharge." Remember Joan, who loved her grandkids but found 3 full days of care exhausting? By gently but clearly explaining her need for a more balanced schedule, she was able to work with her daughter to find a solution that preserved her well-being and allowed her to continue providing valuable support, making the time they did spend together more joyful and less strained. Healthy boundaries protect your own well-being, allowing you to engage with your family from a place of genuine willingness and joy, rather than obligation or exhaustion. They are a sign of self-respect and ultimately benefit everyone in the long run. Finally, remember that your role as a grandparent extends far beyond practical help, like babysitting. Think about your unique contribution, the special gifts only you can offer. What legacy do you want to leave? This is often where the deepest joy and meaning reside. Perhaps you are the keeper of family stories, the one who can bring history alive for the younger generation, connecting them to their roots. Maybe you have a specific skill: gardening, fishing, knitting, baking that secret family recipe, playing the piano that you can patiently teach, creating shared moments of learning and connection. Maybe your gift is simply your calm, loving presence, offering a safe harbor and unconditional acceptance, a listening ear as they grow older. Consider creating special traditions that are unique to your relationship with your grandchildren. It could be an annual camping trip, a monthly date to the library or museum, a special holiday ritual that only happens at Grandma's house, or simply a dedicated time each week for a phone call or video chat where you give them your undivided attention. Think about Arthur, whose arthritis limited his physical activity, but whose mind was sharp and full of memories. He became the designated storyteller, captivating his grandchildren with tales of his own childhood, creating a unique and cherished bond. And Clara, living miles away, bridged the distance with her creative adventure boxes, fostering connection and shared experiences despite the physical separation. Your most valuable contribution might not be measurable in hours of childcare provided, but in the quality of the moments you share, the wisdom you impart, often subtly, the traditions you build, and the unwavering love you provide. Focus on nurturing that unique connection, finding joy in sharing who you are, because that is a gift that will enrich their lives, and yours, immeasurably. Embracing these different facets, self-knowledge, empathy, communication, boundaries, and your unique gifts, allows you to craft a grandparenting role that is not only supportive of your family, but also deeply fulfilling and authentic to you. So, here we are. We've journeyed together through the multifaceted world of modern grandparenthood, exploring the profound joys, the unexpected complexities, and the deeply personal quest to find your unique and fulfilling place within your family's evolving story. We started by acknowledging that feeling of wonder, that surge of love when you first held your grandchild, but also recognized the questions and uncertainties that can quietly surface alongside the happiness. Questions about your role, about expectations, about navigating the differences between generations. These are not signs of doubt, but rather indicators of the deep care and thought you bring to these precious relationships. It's a sign that you want to get it right, not just for your grandchildren, but for your children and for yourself too. As we moved deeper, we uncovered that the very first and perhaps most essential step on this path is turning inward. It's about taking that invaluable time for honest self-reflection. Remember, before you can effectively navigate the expectations of others, you need clarity on your own desires, your own unique gifts, and yes, your own very real limitations. What truly brings you joy in this role? Is it the boisterous energy of playtime, the quiet intimacy of storytelling, the satisfaction of teaching a skill, or simply the warmth of a shared cuddle? Recognizing your strengths allows you to lean into them, to offer what comes naturally and wholeheartedly. And acknowledging your limits, whether they relate to your physical energy, the demands on your time from other commitments, your financial situation, or the simple reality of geographical distance, isn't a weakness. It's wisdom. It's what allows you to build a sustainable grandparenting practice, one that nourishes you rather than depletes you. Like Eleanor, who discovered her true strength wasn't in conforming to an archetype, but in the quiet connection she fostered through shared reading, embracing your authentic self is the key. Trying to be the grandparent you think you should be, rather than the one you genuinely are, can lead to frustration and disconnect. Your authenticity is your greatest gift. From that place of self-understanding, we saw the critical importance of extending empathy and understanding outwards, specifically towards your adult children in their role as parents. It's about consciously shifting your perspective, remembering the pressures and uncertainties of new parenthood, and recognizing that they are navigating a different world with different information and societal influences than you perhaps did. Their parenting choices, from sleep schedules to feeding philosophies to discipline techniques, stem from their desire to do what they believe is best for their child in their current context. Cultivating genuine respect for their autonomy, even when their methods differ from your own past practices, is paramount. This doesn't mean you have to agree with every single decision, but it does mean acknowledging their right and their responsibility to make those decisions. It requires stepping back from the urge to direct or correct, and instead offering support and encouragement. Remember Sarah, who sought to understand why her daughter had a strict rule about sugar? That act of seeking understanding, rather than judging or dismissing, transformed the dynamic from potential conflict to supportive collaboration. Your role has beautifully transitioned from primary caregiver to supportive mentor and loving presence, and honoring that shift is fundamental to harmony. And how do we bridge the gap between our understanding and theirs? Through the vital practice of clear, open, and gentle communication. We discussed how unspoken assumptions and unvoiced expectations are often the hidden rocks upon which family harmony can founder. Taking the initiative to have proactive conversations, choosing calm moments, using those crucial I statements that express your feelings and needs without placing blame, and truly listening with the intent to understand, can dissolve potential misunderstandings before they even take root. Whether it's discussing practicalities like babysitting schedules and preferred ways of handling tantrums, or sharing your own feelings about wanting connection, clear communication is the lubricant that keeps the complex machinery of family relationships running smoothly. It's about asking, like Margaret did, what would be most helpful, rather than assuming. It's about expressing your desire for connection. I'd love to schedule a regular time for a visit, rather than letting feelings of being left out fester. This isn't always easy. It requires vulnerability and courage, but the rewards in terms of clarity and mutual respect are immeasurable. It prevents small frictions from escalating into larger conflicts and builds a foundation of trust. Flowing directly from effective communication is the equally important skill of setting healthy boundaries. We affirmed together that boundaries are not barriers to love. They are essential structures that protect your well-being and the long-term health of your relationships. Saying yes to every request, pushing yourself beyond your limits of time, energy, or even financial capacity might seem loving in the short term, but it's a direct path to burnout, exhaustion, and potentially resentment, feelings that ultimately poison the well of connection. Learning to say no gracefully or to offer alternatives that work within your capacity is an act of self-respect and ensures that the time and energy you do dedicate to your grandchildren comes from a place of genuine joy and willingness, not obligation. Remember Joan, who adjusted her childcare commitment to match her energy levels? That honesty allowed her to continue contributing meaningfully while preserving her own health and happiness, making the time spent more positive. Your needs matter, and honoring them allows you to be the best, most present version of yourself for your family. Finally, we celebrated the idea that your role as a grandparent encompasses so much more than just practical assistance. We encouraged you to reflect on your unique contribution, the special legacy that only you can impart. Are you the keeper of family history, the patient teacher of a cherished skill, the creator of magical traditions, the teller of captivating stories, or the quiet, steadfast source of unconditional love and acceptance? Think about Arthur sharing his life stories, or Clara bridging distance with her creative adventure boxes. Your unique personality, experiences, and passions are invaluable resources. Focusing on building those special connections, creating rituals, sharing your authentic self, and simply being present with your love and attention. These are often the most enduring and meaningful gifts you can give. They weave a thread of connection that goes far beyond the day-to-day, creating memories and a sense of belonging that will enrich your grandchildren's lives long after the toys are outgrown. So, as we draw this conversation to a close, what is the overarching perspective? Grandparenthood is not a static destination, but a dynamic, evolving journey. The relationship you have with an infant grandchild will naturally change as they become a toddler, a child, a teenager, and eventually an adult. Your role, your interactions, and even the expectations will shift over time. The key is to remain flexible, adaptable, and committed to that ongoing process of understanding, communication, and connection. Embrace the learning curve. There will be moments of uncertainty, perhaps occasional missteps or misunderstandings. That's simply part of navigating human relationships. Extend grace to yourself and to your family members. Perfection isn't the goal. Love, presence, and a willingness to connect genuinely are what truly matter. Feel empowered by the wisdom and perspective that your life experience brings. While parenting trends may change, the fundamental needs of children for love, security, patience, and connection remain constant. You have a wealth of lived experience, resilience, and perhaps a broader perspective that can be an incredible asset, not necessarily through explicit advice-giving, but through the calm, reassuring presence you embody. You have navigated life's ups and downs, and that very journey equips you with a unique form of wisdom that can be a quiet anchor for your family. Find joy in the simple moments. In a world that often feels rushed and demanding, the gift of unhurried time and focused attention you can offer your grandchildren is priceless. The shared laughter over a silly game, the quiet concentration while building with blocks, the patient listening to a long and winding story. These are the building blocks of deep and lasting bonds. Celebrate the small victories, the moments of connection, the smiles you share. Remember, you have agency in defining your role. While you need to be respectful of your children's boundaries and parenting choices, you are not merely a passive recipient of expectations. Through self-reflection and clear communication, you can actively shape a grandparenting experience that feels authentic and fulfilling to you. It's a collaborative dance, finding the steps that work for everyone involved, creating a rhythm that feels harmonious and joyful. Ultimately, the heart of this journey lies in love. The unique, profound love that flows between generations is a powerful force. It's a love that seeks connection, cherishes growth, and finds deep satisfaction in nurturing the future. By approaching your grandparenting role with self-awareness, empathy, open communication, healthy boundaries, and a celebration of your unique gifts, you are not just navigating expectations. You are actively weaving a stronger, more resilient, and more loving family tapestry. You are creating a legacy of connection, warmth, and belonging that will ripple outwards, enriching not only your own life, but the lives of your children and grandchildren for years to come. Embrace this chapter with open arms and an open heart. The rewards are truly immeasurable.